It's what's wild in New Hampshire. This is September, the 16th, I think, 2025. I'm back up to New Hampshire Audubon, enjoying the foliage and fellow biologist Chris Martin. We do the annual update on our birds. How did our big birds? We'll call them big birds. The Raptor news. So, Chris, and we just heard he's going to be stepping down at the end of the year. So this will be the last probably big bird or a Raptor survey information I'll get out of. Maybe not. We'll see.
I'll be going out in the woods looking at stuff after I retire. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, Chris. So Chris Martin, New Hampshire Audubon, senior biologist. So what's the uptake on this summer's birds? How did they fare this year? Last year, 24 was a pretty good year. Was 25?
Where should we start? You want to start with falcons?
Falcons sounds like a great place to start.
We've continued to track peregrine falcons because they're on our state's threatened list still. But we had some mixed results this past year.
Okay.
We had a big jump up in the number of sites that were occupied by breeding pairs.
Wow.
We went from 28 to 37 in one season.
28's kind of been on hold for a little while, it seems like it.
So, I mean, nearly 30% increase.
In breeding pairs, basically.
In breeding pairs, or pairs on territories.
Right, yep.
Mixture of cliff sites and structures as well, all over the state. Several new spots that we hadn't seen them in a number of years. We checked places like Ragged Mountain in Andover and Mount Willard in Crawford Notch, but hadn't found any in the last few years. But there were birds occupying both sites. What we didn't have is really good productivity this year. We went from 50 checks last year, which is a record high, to 44 this year.
Okay.
So a bit of a down year for productivity. But what our chart shows is that we follow down years with rebounds.
Okay.
So you can see that on this chart.
All right, we'll look at one of Chris's charts.
See that? Yeah. The green line is the number of young each year, and you see we've had a down year this year.
Yep.
But here's this big jump in. Yeah.
Look at the slope.
Okay.
It's all up.
But what happens after one of those down years is we jump up. Look at that down year was followed by a big jump up.
Big jump. Okay.
And that happens all the time. So I anticipate these new pairs that we've got at these other sites are going to be productive next year.
Nice.
And we may surpass 50 chicks.
Wow.
If we're counting.
Right.
If we're counting. So.
Well, when we talk about the ospreys, I also mentioned before we sat down here that, hey, how are the ospreys doing? He said, well, we don't even bother to check on those anymore because, back when I first remember the ospreys, there were a couple, maybe a dozen pairs up on Umbagog when Flip Nevers and Carol Foss first started working on them in the early 80s, as I recall, or in around 83, 84.
Yeah.
And they're at a different place.
A couple things with ospreys now. They've become so abundant that we really aren't tracking the individual nest sites anymore. But you mentioned Umbagog. The interesting thing is we now have so many bald eagles at Umbagog nesting that the ospreys that used to nest right on the water's edge have now all melted back into the swamps, and they are no longer nesting in such obvious and vulnerable locations.
Yeah. Now eagles eat everybody.
But ospreys are really resourceful. They'll nest on power poles. They're nesting on all these cell towers that are popping up every place.
We see those.
A lot of different structures besides the dead trees and in heron colonies that they used to use all the time. So.
And how about distribution? There's some in the southwestern part of the state?
There are. It's a little harder to find them in the southwest, but there are pairs in some of the big marshes in the southwest.
Okay.
And of course, we have power lines there too, and there are pairs there.
Okay. So about 200 pairs, you're thinking?
I think that's a pretty good guess, but that's what it is at this point. I will mention this. Ian McLeod, who is executive director at Squam Lakes Natural Science Center, volunteers to do osprey monitoring in the Lakes region, something he has carried out for more than 20 years now. And he continues to track each pair that is known there with information on the number of young. And there were nearly 40 young in the Lakes region this year.
40 young.
In the Lakes region.
In the one area. Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about our friend the bald eagles? Where that'd be a graph that's going to show changes there.
I have a graph for you on bald eagles too. It was a remarkable year for them. We continued to see a big slope uphill in terms of bald eagle territories. I got to show you this.
Oh boy, here goes.
This looks a lot different.
Here's the reveal.
This is different than the peregrine graph.
Wow.
Look at the way this slope has continued to go up.
And boy, the last few years.
Okay, it's charging.
Look at that.
What we look for in a chart like this is carrying capacity. When is that line going to flatten out and level off? We're not seeing much evidence of it with eagles.
But that's, well, what do you have for total
128 territories in the state of New Hampshire now.
All right.
But we only had 94 of those that we know laid eggs this year.
Okay.
And only 66 were successful.
Huh.
So considerable room
not
for,
as successful, yeah.
Yeah, room for improvement in their productivity.
Well, it was a rough year for a lot of birds. We had a cold, rainy spring.
Eagles, start early.
Right, they start in February.
And they are they're on their eggs in early March in a lot of cases. And we had in April and May we had so much rain right when they're hatching out, and there was a lot of losses then.
Yeah. Well, and that's cyclical. That happens. It's the whim of nature.
Yep, everything's blowing away.
Uh-oh.
But I think it's impressive to look at the bald eagles because we now have them, as you asked about the other, everywhere in the state. All these red triangles are nest sites all across the state of New Hampshire.
Look at that.
Look at the rivers. Look at the Connecticut River. And look at the Merrimack River.
Wow.
And the only place you don't see bald eagles in great numbers
Mountains.
is the White Mountains.
Yep.
And that makes sense too, doesn't it?
And they're not
not many lakes and rivers.
Not many. No food.
Yeah.
They don't eat pine cones or spruce cones.
So in any case, we're continuing to track them statewide. They're no longer on our state threatened or endangered list. They're off the list. They're a special concern.
This happens during your tenure, didn't it?
When I started 36 years ago, we had the one pair of eagles at Umbagog that you were referring
one
to.
pair.
So it's been a remarkable change, and the credit goes mostly to the eagles for breeding success, but also all the volunteers that track these guys all around the state and keep
wonderful
tabs
volunteers
on which birds succeed and which birds don't.
Nice.
So
some great news.
Yeah.
Harriers.
Yeah, that's a totally different story compared to the success of peregrines and eagles. Harriers are on our state endangered list.
How about federal?
They're not federally listed
because
they are pretty abundant in the prairies and in the northern states, the Dakotas, Montana, and the West generally. But here in the Northeast, we have forest everywhere, very few large tracts of managed grasslands. And so this is a ground nesting bird that likes to nest in shrubby, grassy areas, not in cornfields, but in the early successional regrowth, 5-10 years after a harvest, or in an area that was farm field and has been left go for 5 or 10 years.
Okay.
It's a narrow time frame unless that area gets
pretty unique. So pretty unique habitat, basically.
Well, unique and a habitat that's ephemeral. It's not there very long. There's the vocabulary word of the day is ephemeral.
Yeah. Short-lived.
Short-lived, not going to be there a long time unless you're managing it.
Okay.
And so that's what we're thinking now is the key to keeping harriers in the state is working with agricultural landowners on the areas that they don't have crops in all the time to cut that every few years so that it doesn't grow up into trees.
Okay.
So
how about just on something we usually don't talk about, some of the other hawks and owls. Now, we know we're having problems with pesticides in our birds of prey.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any inclination what's happening to our hawks and owls overall? Just a general sense on, not looking for the specific numbers of nesting or any of that stuff, but what do you sense there, Chris?
I would use just one word: rodenticides.
Okay.
The poisons that we use around our buildings to discourage rats or mice is a kind of toxin that the animals eat, but it doesn't kill them right away. They take it and they go out into the world with it.
Sickly.
And yes, and they struggle and become targets for all kinds of predators, not just raptors and owls, but skunks and possums.
Well, our fisher numbers are way down.
And raccoons and fisher and everything else. Yeah. So it's a general poison that we're distributing throughout the environment. And right now it is not illegal for it to be used.
Right.
And that's a gap in our protection for wildlife, especially mammal eaters.
Okay.
So.
All right, so a lot of good news. Anybody else? Who did we miss? Well, we didn't. Well, you don't know much about terns. Can't ask you about.
I mentioned one other thing.
All right.
Another project that New Hampshire Audubon is not directly involved in, but it's really important stuff, is work with kestrels and kestrel boxes.
Oh, yeah,
throughout
Steve
the
Wheeler's.
state.
Yeah.
You know, Steve Wheeler's been doing that for 40
Decades,
years,
yeah.
all over the state. And now there's another project in the Monadnock region, building off of what he's done, where Phil Brown and the folks at the Harris Center are managing more nest boxes down there than there's ever been before, to give kestrels a place to nest safely. So.
And do we have a sense how that going? I mean, they're holding their own. They're doing,
well,
as far as we know.
If I can promote something, we're going to talk to Phil Brown for Something Wild this week.
Oh, okay.
And in the next few weeks, you'll be able to hear his story on Something Wild.
Oh, great. All right. So more news coming up.
Yep.
Great
and that's
news.
Something Wild on NHPR, not Something Wild in New Hampshire.
That's right. Who wouldn't miss that, right? We got to find that program as well. All right, Chris. So thanks for taking the time today, and we're going to wish you good luck. And thanks for all your hard work. Look at the successes that you have been able to witness with the team. It's not one person.
That's right.
It's a team, and the team includes a lot of volunteers.
A ton of volunteers, and I look forward to seeing you all out in the field.
All right, Chris. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Happy retirement, Chris. This is Wildlife Biologist Eric Orr for What's Wild in New Hampshire.